Hello and welcome. You're watching News Centre and I'm Parikshit Luthra. The Union Cabinet has approved a production-linked incentive scheme with an outlay of 23,000 crore rupees to boost domestic electronics component manufacturing. This is a little more than half of the 40,000 crore rupee outlay that the industry had sought. The PLI replaces a scheme for promotion of manufacturing of electronic components and semiconductors, which was discontinued in March 2024. Electronics and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has said that the scheme will likely boost production to 4.5 lakh crore rupees and attract investments of over 59,000 crore rupees. It is also expected to generate 91,600 direct jobs.
ये 22,919 करोड़ का पूरा पैकेज है कंप्लीट एंड दिस विल बी ओवर 6 years. बहुत सारे सेक्टर्स सर्व होंगे, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स, टेलीकॉम, कंज्यूमर, मेडिकल डिवाइसेस, ऑटोमोबाइल, पावर सेक्टर. और केवल इस स्कीम से डायरेक्टली एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट होगा करीब 1 लाख, 91,600 डायरेक्ट एम्प्लॉयमेंट. इनडायरेक्ट उसके कई मल्टीपल्स में होता है, एज यू नो. इन्वेस्टमेंट आएगा 59,350 करोड़ और प्रोडक्शन जनरेट होगा 4.5 लाख करोड़, 4,56,000 crore.
And joining me now is Pankaj Mohindru, Chairman of the Indian Cellular and Electronics Association. Thank you very much for joining us on the show, Mr. Mohindru. Let me begin by asking you, would this be enough at this point in time when we want to become a leading manufacturer in electronic components globally?
Yes, absolutely. You see, on top of it are the state governments also pitching in with their incentives, because now electronics is such an important industry that state governments are competing with each other with the best packages to reduce the cost of the industry and bring employment and industry to the state. So I would say that, whatever the 40,000 crores which we were expecting, with the state governments coming in, it will definitely add up. And this is a terrific stimulus. I think the gaps in display assembly and camera module, which could not happen earlier in the glorious way in which the scale in mobile phones has been achieved of $60 billion, that will get filled. Then the core foundational industries, which is PCB, passives, mechanics, some of it has happened, but PCB especially could not happen, passives could not happen. So that gap is getting filled. And then the sheer, the supply chain to these sub-assemblies components, that will also get covered in it. So, of course...
Mr. Mohindru, as you said, batteries, displays, camera modules, printed circuit board assemblies, all of this will enhance India's position in the electronic supply chain. What is the current level of imports in these electronic components, if you are to quantify that on an annual basis?
Cells are almost entirely imported today. They are, of course, there are major investments on the way for digital cells also. And that should, get covered under the scheme. PCB is entirely imported for the high-tech industry. There is a small PCB industry in India, but that's not enough. Display assembly, there is, I would say it's about 60% already covered. We need to go a little more further. Camera module is 90% import. So this, I hope this covers your question, and this scheme should fill those gaps, not only for the mobile phone industry, which has the massive global scale of $60 billion, but also for other industries. As the minister pointed out,
right.
IT hardware, medical electronics, auto electronics, etc. And the rub-off from the supply chain of mobile phones will happen horizontally to these verticals.
Right. Mr. Mohindru, what we've seen in the last couple of months, in fact, it's been happening on a case-by-case basis, but now that India and China are trying to put this relationship back on track, and it's not happening behind the doors anymore. It has been spoken about between Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping, and almost every month high-level conversations are taking place as to how to put the economic relationship back on track. We've also seen the likes of Dixon signing agreements, strategic agreements with Chinese partners for these electronic components. Do you see more such strategic agreements being signed between Indian and Chinese companies now?
I leave that to the political leadership to address. This question, I leave it to the political leadership to address. We will,
All right, but do
as
you?
an industry, we'll diligently follow the policy of Government of India. We'll continue to advocate what we think is best for the nation, and our position is very clear on that. There is
Okay.
we have to cooperate with every nation: Taiwan, Korea, Japan, China, US, Germany, the countries which are strong in the supply chain. We have to cooperate with all of them.
All right. Now, in terms of this scheme, do you feel that we are going to see, because of these incentives, more investments, more agreements being signed in India for electronic manufacturing? And if there were more areas where interventions are needed to ease up or make it easier to manufacture electronic components in India, what would those concessions, what would those known non-tariff barriers be where we need easing?
No, we don't advocate non-tariff barriers. India should be the easiest place to do business, and India should be the most wonderful place to do business. The investment environment should be the best. I think we've chipped away at a lot of our disabilities. Some more are required. For example, the permanent establishment thing that companies don't want to warehouse here and so on. There are issues in direct tax, but all of that is work in progress. The seriousness and the intensity to clean up our act is absolutely relentless. In my 4 decades of experience, I have not seen the Team India working so closely. This particular
Right.
scheme,
Mr.
I think,
Mohindru?
in the history of the country, has been the most debated, and as they say in Hindi, बिल्कुल ठोक बजा के ये स्कीम बनी है.
Okay. Mr. Mohindru, what I'd like to also understand for you, from you is that how will a company apply for this? What's going to be the eligibility criteria, the base criteria for applying and availing these incentives?
The guidelines will come out. For each category, there'll be different guidelines because in some schemes, it is only the turnover based, as the conventional PLI kind of structure. There is hybrid in some. In some, there is a capital stimulus. So it's a mixture of all this, whatever, because it's not you can't average it out because each vertical is different. The capital intensity, ICOR, incremental capital output ratio in each of these categories is different. The
Right.
sub-assemblies
Thank you so much.
require less capital, gives more throughput. A product like PCB, the investment equal to almost turnover, it's 1:1. So it's quite well thought out.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohindru, for joining us with your perspective. Let's wait and see what the guidelines are like for the industry. We're taking a break here on News Center, but as the tariff war escalates, Chinese President Xi Jinping met global CEOs in Beijing in a bid to boost the Chinese economy. A special discussion with Yoko Kubuta, Deputy Bureau Chief at the Wall Street Journal, joining us from Beijing on the other side.
The meeting took place today in Beijing, and about 40 executives from US, Europe, Asia, they joined to meet Xi Jinping. And those included people from Qualcomm, Blackstone, Toyota, Pfizer, etc. I think it was very interesting to see Xi's message to these executives. He was saying that globalization is unstoppable, multilateralism is inevitable. So that contrast of what is happening in the US in terms of President Trump's tariff policies and the message that she is talking about, about globalization. That contrast is quite interesting to me. I think she also urged the business executives to defend trade, and he emphasized that China is going to be open for business for foreign companies and that they're eager to help foreign companies thrive here.
Right. Coming to the issue of automobile tariffs, yes, the reciprocal tariffs will come into effect on the 2nd of April, but before that, he's already imposed 25% tariffs on all automobile imports, including parts.